In the bottom left, we have herO. In the top right, it is Oliveira. We can put the name on, I guess. Oh, it's already there. Nice. Nailed it. Perfect. So this is from the ESL Pro Tour Korean Open Cup semifinals. I nailed it. I don't remember what EPT stood for. It happened just a couple of days ago, so still fairly fresh. Obviously, these two players getting to the semifinals, because it is semifinals. And we'll be casting the finals after this as well. Apparently, the semifinals, both of them and the finals for the Korean Open Cup were all bangers. But unfortunately, that means that they're all quite long as well. So I'm not sure we're going to be able to get to both semis and the finals. But we'll do it if we can. But you know me. First of all, this was the only best of 3 semifinals available in the drive. But also, if I had to choose who to cast, I'd be choosing herO. And as a bonus, we also get to see what the world champ is up to. How's he looking? Oliveira has not suddenly become the world's best player, beating everyone left and right, but has always been a strong contender of any of the weeklies. I mean, he wasn't bad before becoming the world champion, of course. But, you know, certainly we're all kind of in agreement. I think Oliveira's in agreement as well. That Katowice was a bit of a dream run. Lightning in a bottle, not going to happen for him or for a lot of people ever in their lives. And he's cool with it, man. He's cool with it. Oliveira is such a cool kid. Donating his money to charity, wanting to build schools. Explaining his thought process, keeping humble. Drying his tears with money as he loses to Maru, you know, in an online cup. We do have something interesting going on, so I'll stop making jokes. We have herO, once again using Royal Blood to get a Nexus. This time he's not going to go for the behind the minerals Nexus, though, which he has done previously. That, you know, was supposed to guarantee that it wasn't going to be scouted, but pretty quickly this became a known cheese. So people were like, where's your Nexus? Oh, okay, I should check behind the gold minerals. It actually makes as much sense to just take it as is, to be honest, at this point. So we take it as is. We get a Stargate afterwards. So this is actually like a 2-base Stargate. And Oliveira has not done any scouting whatsoever. So we don't even have to worry about keeping up appearances as herO. You know, herO could have gone like for like a 1-base opener and then like, JK, Nexus. And then Oliveira would be waiting for regression. It never comes. Didn't have to even fake that. Doesn't even have to be wary of when to recall the probes. Just recalls them, doesn't care if there's a suspicious lack of probes in the main base because nothing's coming his way yet. Oliveira does have some Marines, Reapers, and a single Hellion coming across the map. But you know, they're going to see no Nexus. And an Oracle actually swoops in at the exact same time. The no Nexus, not scary enough to pull back. Still going to try and charge on in and get return damage done. 2 SCVs died, not really all that big of a deal. In fact, this has distracted herO tremendously. The Oracle is not focus firing when it absolutely could have. So herO is going to take more damage than Oliveira to this very little just ragtag group of units. That's not how you expected that to go. Because 8 probes going down maybe was inevitable. 9 probes, in fact. Oh my god, he's going to get the 10. The grenade got the 10! He got 10 probes with that. And maybe that is inevitable just because there's only 2 adepts defending right here. They can't do all that much. But there really should have been more like 6 or 7 SCVs killed. The SCVs were stacked up in the gas geyser for, I want to say, a good 10 seconds. And while Pulsar Beam isn't what it used to be. 2-shotting SCVs, 3-shots them since Legacy of the Void. I think it still could have killed more than 2. You know, and if it's 7 SCVs killed at 10 probes, it's like, meh. But then again, we also have to take into account that it's not a regular mineral base that herO's mining from, it's a gold base. And he's going to take the other gold base because that's what herO do. 1 gold base isn't enough. 2 or none. This Marine looking for the gold base is going to be stopped short by the Adept. This medevac drop should be exactly. It should go over to check this. I mean, if he doesn't, that's on Oliveira, 100%. There's a shield battery, and there is a recall in the nick of time. But what is there to recall? I guess the oracles, honestly. Well, they don't have to recall. They could probably respond fast enough. A little more dangerous. Oh. I don't know if that recall is actually kind of... Okay. Not sure the recall is worth it. They were kind of close to responding anyways. But, okay. Okay. I was going to say, it's a little bit tougher now that the shield battery was killed. Maybe the oracles could be focus fired, but, you know, none of that just picks up anyways. Stalkers are getting locked on. One of them dies, the other one's severely injured. This one in a very awkward place. Again, shield battery was sniped, and so that makes any defense of this gold base that much harder. Two Cyclones were very powerful, but one taken down, one crowd controlled, and the oracles trying their best to be the saviors are maybe going to be enough. They do literally save the Nexus, but they did not save 11 probes' lives. They are dead. They are gone. They're in the Kala now, whatever the hell happens to Protoss when they die. And that puts herO down to 28 workers, technically mining off of 2 gold bases, but not saturated at all on either of them. Is he going to recall again? He's going to chrono. He's just chronoing the hell out of all of his probes. And his blink. Okay, so... yeah, he was getting something else besides oracles, guys. Didn't say that vocally, but he has been building blink for a while. I also would have guessed mass charge lot, considering the gold base, you know, our minerals, and charge lots are mineral base. But no, he's going for stalkers. So, does probably need 3 gases. He'll eventually saturate this one, I suppose. 2 oracles still left. Certainly still useful for scouting, and they do give that high ground. That's not a lot of stalkers, but they will gun it for the tech lab, and that is Stim. They could have found combat shields instead. In fact, they're going to get 2 for 1 here without losing too many units. In fact, did he just not lose any stalkers right there? I think he didn't lose any stalkers. These 2 are very close to death. Those 2 stalkers killed her from earlier. Nicely done. Oracles also lived. That seemed like such a tiny little Protoss force compared to the power of the Terran. That tank sieged up the 4 Marauders, packing a punch, even without Stim. But that was so perfectly timed and well microed that herO just grabbed 2 very important upgrades, and Stim being still a fairly long one, even after it was buffed a long time ago. And that was crucial to keeping herO alive for the next few minutes. Great recall with the blink to take down this medevac. That was definitely worth it. Finally, the gold bases are once again saturated. And he is also making sure to take that gas, so no abrupt stop in the stalker production. He finally has gotten charged too, so even if he didn't have gas, just mash those charge lots. Just go, 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 go. How many gateways are going up to on this technically 3 bases? I don't know how else to put it nicely. 3 bases, 2 of them are gold. We are going to go up to 8 gateways. That sounds like a good number to me. Absolutely 0 upgrades so far, but we do finally have a forge on the way for herO. What has Oliveira been doing? You might say, you might ask. You're like, you talk a lot about herO. Well, herO's doing far more interesting things in my defense. Oliveira is just doing Terran things, which is like, you know, we don't usually cause all that much weirdness nowadays. We just build up to bio balls. It's like, oh, what a shock. The only thing that can get a little weird is perhaps if this was a 2-base all-in. It is not. A 3rd CC has been formed, has been scouted by herO. That is nonetheless a very intimidating force built up on those 2 bases. And does herO have the army to deal with it? Maybe, actually. Takes out a tank right there with that stalker. Right? Did I make that up? And this one was... oh, maybe it was saved. I think I actually did make that up. But I was trying to look at the zealot numbers. 20 coming in here. Very nicely done. Stalkers even making sure to evacuate once they realize that they can. Oliveira is actually gunning after them, realizing they're their weak part. They're also what's going to stop them from being able to pick up and leave. And they do successfully stop one of those medevacs. Only 1 medevac survives with units in it. That's not a great feeling, but a bunker is still ready to go. Reinforcements are being made. That's probably going to be enough to keep Oliveira alive to any counterattack that could occur. Zealots kind of not supposed to be good in this type of situation, although there are no widow mines, and that would be the real kicker. Stasis trap actually does get activated, taking 6 units out of the fight. But I guess at this point in time, herO doesn't really even have to force the issue, does he? I mean, it would be a very herO thing to do to force the issue, just because he thinks he can. He does read the game rather well. But he really doesn't have to. He's got 3 bases saturated. His gold is starting to mine out a little bit, but later than it could have because it lost so many probes. His main's starting to mine out a little bit too, but the natural's on the way. And he knows his opponent is on 2 bases, so, he's also starting to lose minerals in the main base. So if herO had never expanded to the natural and was running out of steam on every single mineral line, he could have fallen flat on his face before he knew it. A minute from now, he's like, I'll just remax with charge lots. Boom, no minerals. But he is expanding, and he is going to take a good fight to Oliveira, realizing that he needed another base. Tried to take it, tried to spread out his units in a way that would work against the incoming Protoss army, and it did not work. It did not. But there was really no winning scenario for Oliveira at that point. Now, he does do a great job microing. Those units on the left side tuck themselves into a corner. The units on the right side are able to micro, but Oliveira, realizing that this game is just way too far gone, taps out. Makes a lot of sense. But yeah, it was going to be very difficult to actually make this army work in this position. I mean, maybe if this, a couple of tanks were maybe back here, that would have been a little bit tougher. He tries to build Sim City. That's a good idea, but... And then these units didn't have any medevacs healing them, which is a big bummer. And there's a chance he would have taken a fight here. But having spread out so much, it just was difficult. GG's. On to game 2. Now we're in this best of 3 game 2 on Babylon. Gotta move the nameplate. In the top left, we do have herO up 1. Oliveira, aka Time, for anyone who missed that, in the bottom right. Some people are also pretty confused. Oliveira is still a fairly new name. Even though he did win the global championships, I mean, that's... If you put it in another way, if you missed StarCraft for 5 days, then you missed that his name was Oliveira. Is basically how you could put that. And a lot of casual fans only watch the major tournaments, right? And then a lot of major tournament watchers just occasionally miss. As far as Oliveira, in his timing of his changed name, that was a few months ago. I don't know how long ago, actually, at this point, but it was before Katowice, obviously. But no one really paid attention to that. I mean, you can say that we watch a decent amount of StarCraft, us casters. We're pretty ingrained in the scene, we're not just coming in every once in a while and being like, what's up, I like StarCraft, I guess. And all of us pretty much forgot that he was Oliveira when we went to Katowice. Someone said it and we were like, oh, yeah. So, and it doesn't help that he was using his old nickname for signings. I think he still is using some of his, his old account sometimes. We just kind of forgot to call him Oliveira and we call him Time a lot. But it's now pretty ingrained in my head, honestly. And when it appears on screen, that's what makes the mental connection for me. I'm a visual person. Anywho, we did have a very early probe scout. herO likes doing that. I figured it was for nothing nefarious initially, because herO does go for one of the earlier probe harassment probes of the Protosses. Hides it successfully, too. Oliveira was checking around a little bit for it. That timing was perfect from the probe. And the probe was definitely interested in seeing what the follow-up to this opener was. All those 2 gases. Of course, it should be a factory, but is the factory at home? Or is it proxied somewhere? Well, he's going to be able to determine that it is a factory, and if he's quick enough, and I think he is, he would have seen that that was a tech lab. Which, it's unlikely it's a reactor, I would say, but just in case, confirmation tech lab. So that could open up the opportunity for some type of tank push or cyclone opener. If it was completely add-on lists, then you might be more wary of a Widowmine drop, for instance. Was unable to see if it was a starport first or a command center after that factory is the only kind of bummer. That probe did try its best, though. herO has gone into a robo-opener, actually, of all things. So, technically that is quite a safe opener. The only problem I would say with a robo-opener is that its potential as the game goes on feels kind of low. If you go into a 2-base Colossus build, for instance, I think that's one of the pretty much most boring builds. And I know boring is an opinion, but it doesn't have a lot of its skill cap is not particularly high. That's the best way I can put it. If you go into some type of Warp Prism Stalker shenanigans without Blink, which I think we have seen some Protoss do, there's definitely not a guarantee that 4 Stalkers are gonna do a lot of damage. And then if there's anything else in mind, that's a hero specific thing. With 4 gases being taken, I do believe it's going to turn into a 2-base Colossus, and it probably is because he's playing very safe. I think a Stargate also would have been okay, and ultimately a Twilight Council with Blink would have been okay in this game. But because he doesn't know exactly what's going on, he might be just playing very safe. So Immortal is going to keep you really safe in the early game. Then you add it on a Robotics Bay, although no shield battery is a little less safe. Reapers have revealed themselves, bothering them, but they haven't actually scouted. And it's not going to go into Colossus at all. It's an Immortal, and then a Twilight Council and a Forge. So this would be very confusing for Oliveira at this point. The Observer's going to get over here. Again, really nice timing for herO. It's going to see the Banshee, confirm the Tech Lab is spinning, know that Cloak's on the way. And then, as far as having to change his build, he really doesn't. I guess he has to make sure he gets another Observer, if he wasn't already planning on it. But now that the Banshee has been revealed, its likelihood for success, I think, is really low. And, it's going to be able to outmaneuver the Stalkers without Blink being done. But I don't know how much damage it's going to do. Charge and +1 armor is on the way. So we're not going to Blink at all, actually, in this game. Well, not for a long time, anyways. That is a drastic change. We must have a Templar Archives also planned fairly soon, because that's a lot of gas for someone who's ultimately going into charge lots.
Hostile forces.
So what has Oliveira actually scouted? He saw 2 gases on 2 bases, no 3rd base intentions. I mean, I feel like as a Terran player, you'd be more and more suspicious of it being a Colossus build, which I think is why we have Vikings on the way. But it's not. It's not. I just, I'm not convinced it's anything else that's good. Thank you, Mana, for that raid, by the way. Hope you had a good stream. Casting some replays of the Korean Open Cup and trying to figure out what the hell herO is doing. herO does not have charge, even halfway done, or his armor. Now, this attack from Oliveira is a little unique. Not many Terran players are going to do this specific attack, but it can absolutely happen. Those Banshees can then be used in the main army, and they're great at distracting, so the main army can get across the map. Big, I think this was used a decent amount on like Moondance and some other maps in the previous map pools. And so, yeah, I don't think herO was, well, he certainly wasn't hoping this would happen. He was hoping to have a little bit more time. Now, charge lots are still great against a tank-based push. The Banshees will just be able to free fire on them, so that's free damage, but they won't be able to kill them fast enough is the hope, basically. But Oliveira is also going to have these Marines and bunkers, too, and that's going to cause some problems for the charge lots. Templar Archives finally does get thrown down. I think herO has, he was probably planning on a certain something, builder-wise, up until he saw this move out, and then had to, quick as a cat, kind of change up his situation. So he's actually banking a lot of gas. He probably could have gotten to Archons fast enough to deal with this push, but apparently doesn't need it. Immortals from the backside as well, helping to take out the tanks and the bunkers, charge lots in plenty of numbers, take out the rest of it, and those Banshees, again, they were free firing, but they weren't doing enough damage, so one of them is able to escape. Archons are now going to be available for whatever counterattack herO has in mind. And this game is still very, well, let's say very interesting. Thank you, Steadfast, for that raid as well. It looks like Oliveira's in a lot of trouble. I mean, he committed really hard to that push. He was rallying to that push. So when he got everything killed, that was everything except the Vikings that flew away. and landed Vikings aren't bad against Protoss, but you can see that he also is very worried about being killed right here, right now. His production is not yet up and running. He added a 3rd CC while doing that attack, which was awfully greedy by him. So he is severely low. Severely low on units. A wall is his best friend right now. Now, is that a complete wall? No. But it's going to provide that maze-like structure that will help against the charge lots. Even the Archons, actually. The Archons can't reach over, and they can't fit through either. So that's a good idea. That's a good thing. I mean, really, herO has taken so long to do this attack. Oliveira, not, letting his guard down and being like, oh, I guess he's not going to do it. Continues to keep track of the army, is looking for the free shots of the Vikings on the Warp Prism. And that is going to go down. 2-shot. And has managed to add the Liberator, a couple of Marines, more supply depots, a 3rd tank. And now at this point, it looks like hero's not even going to bother with the counterattack, which, I don't know. I feel like we rewinded. That's a hard one. To a minute ago, I feel like herO actually immediately counterattacking. As soon as his Warp Prism came out, as soon as he added on some Archons, would have been really hard for Oliveira to hold. But gonna wait for perhaps a better opportunity later. And herO does still look to be in an okay position. I mean, he's got better upgrades. He has a 3rd base on the way. His worker count is not particularly impressive, though. And he is starting to mine out of the main. Triple Viking hit squad. Because why not? That recall coming in is going to mean the Vikings are just going to chill somewhere for a while. Nothing to stop them from chilling off to the side, right? Thank you, Steadfast, for the raid as well. The resub, 29 months, as well as Hello Zergling for the 67 months. Oh, damn. Storm is on the way for herO, but Oliveira is also getting to Ghost already, right? So he had to pack a lot into a 2-base setup for a while, even though his 3rd was done this entire time, but it was a 2-base setup. He had to pack a lot of progression into that 2-base setup. He had to add all of his barracks. He was on 1 barracks when he initially was turtling, guys. Now he's up to 5. He added into the Ghost Academy. He even is banking quite a bit, actually, funnily enough. Wouldn't expect that. And he's got a double drop hitting into the natural, which herO was not expecting. We got ourselves a little bit of an awkward situation. Once again, Oliveira not getting too comfortable, keeps his wall up, keeps his bunkers up, keeps his tanks sieged. So herO is thinking that's not going to work out at least as well as I was hoping. Now returns home, but it's very awkward. It's waffling, right? And so he doesn't have recall either because of the earlier Viking hit squad. That ended up being really beautiful in that way. Did they die? They dove. They dove in the main base, I guess, and killed something, but ended up taking out the recall potential. And that was a lot of time bought. That was so much time bought, so much damage done. The army of the Protoss now moving across the field, but this was the exact time that Oliveira needed to extend his turtling a little bit forward. You know, he's still trying to build a lot of SimCity. He's basically rebuilding the SimCity, the natural, over a little bit farther, but that's exactly what he needs to do. And he's got those ghosts, which is going to be so effective against the Chargelts and the Archons. 1 storm is all that herO could get out of the Warp Prism before it died to the missile turret and perhaps focus fire of the bunkers. The tanks are starting to go down, but they're getting a lot of shots off. Another Liberator siege is up. Ghost still alive, surprisingly enough. They are going to be basically the remnants of the army, which is great for the Terran. Fantastic for the Terran to be like, oh, my ghost survived. Then the cheaper things can be remade, and Oliveira technically has held 14 SCVs, had to be sacrificed to do that hold, but he's still ahead by 7. herO's economy is not particularly impressive. Upgrades had also evened up by that time. I remember, you know, pointing out the upgrade difference earlier on. Those were evened up, and now Oliveira even heading on to that +2. Remembering to get Marauders slow. Probably something he forgot about. Or maybe did on purpose, I don't know, but now he's going to have that with Marauders, and it would be a very ambiguous game for Oliveira. This scan might have just told him how ahead he is. That is a saturated 3rd base, sure, but no gases. So this is probably very committed. herO is not really looking towards the future, and that is 100% true. herO is trying to win the game right here, right now, but that is too much Terran at this point. He has missed his opportunity to use the mass charged out Archon army that he had built up. He missed the opportunity to actually win the game with it. And although it was really close, if Oliveira wasn't so, well, defensively minded, wasn't so perhaps humble, if he got a little overconfident at any point in this game, he might have died. For sure. Now herO is going to try and make up for that lack of macro. He's getting his gases, he's building probes again, getting the 4th base, but he is going to be stuck on this kind of one-dimensional army for quite some time. One-dimensional in terms of how effective those EMPs are going to be against it, not one-dimensional in terms of its potential. Its potential is limitless. If you got good charge-out run-bys, good charge-out surrounds combined with storms right in the middle of it, I mean, that's beautiful, that's perfect, but you could easily also just throw charge lots and Archons and High Templars in one direction and get EMP'd. So that's why that doesn't look so good. Ideally, if you weren't so committed to that 3-base attack, you would be already with a 4th base and your gases and moving on into a robotics bay and getting into Colossus and Disruptors. But of course, herO thought he could win with that attack. Now the game does move over into a bit of a macro game, so herO's going to be able to get up a 4th base. That's cool. But Oliveira is no doubt in the lead. Still having more economy than his opponent with mules being dropped. Having 20 more army supplies, going to finish up 2-2. herO might get to +2 armor before he has to defend something. And the 4th base will, of course, become a planetary, nice and safe. And then Oliveira can focus entirely on moving out with his better army. It is better. herO still making no moves to get into a robotics bay, despite having that robo. You know, very early on, he's definitely using it. And this is something that I think herO especially is trying to use and, you know, it swears by, is not exactly the right phrase, but he has done great things with a gateway-based army with Storms and Immortals. He has taken surprising engagements with it. But, yeah, usually you'd want to be moving on to a second form of Splash, as well as to a form of Splash that is non-counterable, really, which is Disruptors. There's no direct counter to that. Love the idea of Storm Drops. Absolutely love it. But this was a failure. This lost the High Templars, lost the Warp Prism, and didn't even kill that many SCVs. Oh well. 4th base as a planetary very soon. Missile turret up. Again, once Oliveira is settled on 4 bases and maxes out, he could probably move across the map and not have to worry about very much. Because certainly herO can't invest into a large number of DTs with Blink, for instance. I mean, I guess he could, but he certainly would be moving on to Disruptors if he was doing that. And the scan just revealed, in fact, that technology. Very bold place for herO to put this. It is vulnerable, but it also does make sense in terms of getting those Disruptors on the front line as fast as possible. But if they don't hold, they don't hold, and there's no backup. So that's a little concerning. Lots of Storms being thrown down, clipping a lot of the Terran army. No juicy, juicy shots. And Oliveira is trying his best not to double stim before he's healed up, but also realizing an engagement's on the way. Woodamine's burrow, most of them get destroyed. Ghosts are definitely wanting to get... Oh, I thought I heard a storm. Ghosts are definitely wanting to get those High Templars right here. Oh, they look so juicy. Oh, get it. But currently dodging and weaving and trying to heal back up before the engagements actually had 2 Woodamines. Hitting the center of a Zealot army was a nice thing right there. I guess herO just didn't realize they were there. And there's the EMP on top of most of the High Templars. I believe that was the last storm off to the right side. And now we have 2-2 bio against 2-1 Protoss. Army being microed back actually into some supply depots, which isn't ideal. Vikings end up landing. Disruptor gets one more good shot. Decent shot anyways. But without the fodder, the Immortals can't stand up by themselves. And the Zealots are disappearing. Reinforcements are on the way, but a little too late. If they were there halfway into the fight, they might have made a huge difference, but now they have to awkwardly walk back home and try and defend on the 4th base. The shield battery, there's a couple of Disruptors, an Archon could form up, but is that going to be enough to stop? Oliveira is just rattling everything he has across the map. 3-3, about 20 seconds away from finishing as well. Biggest worry right now are those Disruptors. The Zealots can be taken out with the Widowmines if they choose to engage. And if they don't engage, they can just be picked apart by the Marauders, right? So, not an ideal situation so far. Widowmines are targeting the Zealots quite nicely. That last one, okay, last second split from herO. But Oliveira knows that he can bully this type of army for a while. Even with the Disruptor count continuing to grow, this isn't an army that is necessarily eager and willing to pounce. Although it looks like Oliveira is no longer reinforcing, which is probably the safer call. The problem with reinforcing is that if you do get pounced upon, if you do underestimate your opponent, and they do end up taking care of this army, then they take care of every reinforcing unit as well. And that can cause a real snowball. So plays it safe, gets to cancel on the 5th, rebuilds the army back at home. Oliveira is also building his own 5th. 3-3 has finished up, guys. So the bio is certainly very good. 3-3 to 2-2. But again, those Disruptors, definitely a key unit for herO to bring this game back. And I'd say even though he's on a decent supply... Oh, the Disruptors! No! I caster cursed him! My bad. That was my bad. Wow, that could not have been better timed. Awesome. The drop was having herO just run every which way with his army, right? So he was trying to get up to the main base. Didn't realize his disruptors were taking that path. It was pretty bad for him. Because I was going to elaborate. I was going to say, like, I do think that herO is absolutely the one that's still catching up. Because Oliveira is so situated. And the Protoss army is vulnerable to being caught out, you know, out in the open. Disruptors don't get good hits. Not particularly good at bouncing around bases to track these medevacs. I absolutely thought that Oliveira had a higher chance of victory as long as disruptors didn't get a good shot. And, well, he just took down 4 or 5 disruptors, so... Yeah, he's reduced his chances of getting a shot, a disruptor to the face. Still trying to do some drops. He depowered the robo on the 4th base, and that, I don't think, is something that herO has noticed. Couple of probes going down to this one. Yeah, 9 in total. herO not advancing to a 5th base in the last minute or so. Seems to have temporarily, at the very least, forgotten about it. Once again, dedicating entirely to the attack. Complete focus on the attack and doing well with it. But it's really key that Oliveira got up to some Liberators. Now, they aren't upgraded Liberators. They don't have +2, not even +1, and they don't have Liberator range. But they are so much easier to deal with the Disruptors. Because you plant a couple of Liberators in a location, and even if they have a decent number of Blink Stalkers with Blink, and this is a Blink, they really have to choose their engagement wisely. So you put 4 Liberators here, and then maybe you don't have to worry about that location anymore. But I would love to see Oliveira start to take up some change and go for Liberator range. I don't think he has a fusion core, so it's gonna have to wait a little while. While he is tracking the Protoss army, herO once again trying to get to that 5th base. That EMP just blanketed the front line of the army. A Disruptor starting to use maybe 1 too many balls. Gotta be careful. If this army gets EMP'd and there's no disruptor shots, I guarantee it's gonna melt. Guarantee. Oh, and here comes a big surround. Oliveira potentially choosing the exact right time. EMP is once again coming down. Disruptors are gonna get a couple of good hits, but maybe not all that many, honestly. And the last 2 disruptor shots, okay, 1 hit. But is it going to be enough is the question. Yet again, Oliveira's supply dominating herO's. And he just needs to move his reinforcements up to the front lines, and we'll see that absolutely Oliveira has taken game number 2. GG's. Excellent surround. Really nicely chosen there. And that makes it a tied up series. Even though I was starting to doubt. When Oliveira was defending this base, that the supply did not look particularly good for him. But he held on, man. He did. GG's. In the bottom right, we have herO. In the top left of Gresvan, it is Oliveira. What's really impressive about how Oliveira played that last game out is that for as much sense as it makes that he was super defensive and super turtly, that often leads to different but equal problems for a Terran player. Thank you, Uppatry Zelda. Hello, everyone from the raid. If you have to turtle like he does, usually what happens is that the Protoss takes extreme advantage of it. When Oliveira was turtling on 2 bases with mostly tanks in SimCity to help him out, very low number of bio, herO really did not have anything to worry about. He probably could have macroed harder than he did. But he was focusing on the engagement that had happened previously, right? He was building up to that for a long time, so his own third was quite delayed. And then he did figure he had a chance. And then it just became kind of one of those weird, like, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. Oh, wait, I can't do it. That's awkward. Now I have to expand. So yeah, it was kind of awkward for herO to take advantage of it, but that's usually what happens. The Terran player goes, well, I'll live another day. I'll live by turtling. I'll live by sieging up my tanks. But then they don't do anything aggressive. Their third base is late to actually planting, so even though it's done and dropping mules, it just helps to burn out the minerals faster. And the Protoss just, again, takes advantage of that time where the Terran army is not mobile. It's definitely not ready to go. But Oliveira was able to walk that tightrope that is making sure to defend, but not over-defend. If you build 10 bunkers to defend something, and they don't do that thing, you probably wasted too many minerals and too much time defending against a thing that never came. But Oliveira, again, did a great job doing what was necessary to survive in that game. herO, perhaps you could argue, was maybe overly aggressive. Wanted to be aggressive and then was denied opportunities. So maybe he should have not been as aggressive as he was, but really can't blame him for setting up some of those engagements. He did at times have that higher army supply. It just never was quite enough to kill a very stubborn Terran player that is Oliveira. Stargate on the way for game number 3. Let's not forget that last game started off quite weird. It basically looked like herO was expecting something dangerous because it was a factory expand. But I didn't know for a fact it was an expand. You just saw the factory. So he went for a robo opener, and that kind of just started off at a weird place. The Immortal popped out, and he did an excellent cleanup of a tank push, and that's what actually made Oliveira to be in a more scary position. But then the flow, I guess, of the Protoss isn't exactly streamlined when you've opened up with that robo and had to break the tank push. So he had to wait so long to actually be ready to do the push that Oliveira was struggling against. It was a pacing-wise a unique TVP. With a Stargate opener, building one Oracle, and then going right into the Twilight Council, most likely for Blink. This is a more predictable, just let's focus on our builds, and let's focus on getting a little bit of damage type of TVP. And this was excellent. Oliveira with a perfectly placed Widow Mine. You know, Protoss are wary of this these days. Protoss are generally wary of looking at their Oracle when they're near the Terran base, not when they're at the Terran base. That's, not that time. herO losing his only Oracle, by the way. Right? Because he did go right into that Twilight Council for Blink. And affording another Oracle just because the last one died so quickly is not really what you want to be doing. Doesn't have the gas for it. I mean, he could if he thought he really needed it. But unfortunately, it's kind of one of those, like, not quite worth rebuilding. So that might be a pain later on. The Adept Shade is, I think, getting enough information to not be super worried about, for instance, the most worrying thing might be a 3 racks that's on the way. Whoops, Widow Mine. These Widow Mines, though. And if it's not a 3 racks, then it's probably a 1-1-1 off 2 base, or maybe even a 3rd CC into a 1-1-1. Both things which at the herO would be prepared for. herO being a barcode has actually thrown me off so many times in this cast. I don't know if you guys have picked up on that. But I'm actually temporarily forgetting this is herO. Anyways. So herO can still do his part of the build, not to worry about being killed immediately. He's probably more now worried about doing his aggressive build as he proxies a gateway right now. Skipping on that robo can really streamline the process, can be quite brutal. And Oliveira is probably thinking to himself, hell yeah, Widow Mines are awesome. I just killed that Oracle. Doesn't actually have much knowledge of anything else. He has purely been defending since the Reaper Scout. So he doesn't know that his opponent's proxying a gateway, not that you really ever would. Doesn't know that his opponent is on 3 bases, but you'd have to guess so at this point. Doesn't know if he's going into mass gateways or Phoenix Colossus, which again, you'd probably see the Phoenix by now. And it is herO, and he does like mass gateways, so there's a lot of things that Oliveira could predict, but one of the things that you would never be sure of is whether or not they're all winning. And that's really what we got to talk about. Does Oliveira defend against what is going to be a dedicated 3-base Protoss player? Going into the main base is not going to let him figure it out. This isn't the full information that he needs. Seeing no Forge might be a little sus, but the amount of gateways, so that's what a Protoss needs on 3 bases, isn't it? Blink forward seems awfully aggressive, but it pretty much guarantees the kill on all of his bio, and herO knows that he's going to be replacing it rather quickly, although not as quickly as he would hope, because the pylons were all taken down. That was nicely done by Oliveira, buying some time on the production of the army, as well as buying time on that charge actually being done. Attacks on the front lines too, but this might have been a little too over-eager. If herO was planning on going into Templar Archives, Robotics Bay, 4th base, all of this action might have snowballed. We might have had herO being like, oh, what? Huh? I don't know. But keep in mind, herO is dedicating entirely to producing units. So these throwaways are not as even as they might look, as he does get some stalkers, as he does kill some of the zealots. It's much more worrying for Oliveira, who does not still realize this is quite that all in. He didn't even see these gases, I think, since the Reaper, so that's not knowledge. That's just old scouting, I think. And he hasn't seen the 3rd base and the gases there either. Now he sees this army bearing down on him. Probably more inclined as he sees still no upgrades on his opponent to believe that this has been a forgeless, perhaps even roboless build, as they are definitely a thing. This isn't totally unique to herO, but he does a lot. And herO is getting a 4th base, but again, keep in mind that lack of technology that comes from opening the way that herO does. So if herO doesn't do a lot of damage with this opener, this 3-base gasless situation, then Oliveira certainly has a chance to bring back the game. No problem there. 3rd CC is finished. Bunkers still up and running. I really love that Oliveira doesn't salvage bunkers. It's such a weird statement. I haven't had it said before, but it's actually helped him so much in this series. He's very hesitant to salvage bunkers. And that's really going to help. Here comes the big Zealot Stalker attack. Again, no upgrades on the Zealot, but they conquer that bunker ASAP. Trying to get on top of the bio that is snuck into a choke is a bit more difficult, however, and that has saved Oliveira. Alongside the Liberator sieging up, a recall has to be used because a Wood of Mine drop just hit the 3rd base of herO. Looks like it didn't really kill all that many probes, though. Oh, but that one did. Natural one got 10 probes. Main one is going to get even more probes. Ah! Oh my god. You almost screwed everyone over. All right, well that was a nasty little attack there from Oliveira, because 11 probes maybe isn't that bad. If you have 4 Nexus done to replace them, that's going to happen pretty quickly. But that just pulled the entire army back. I mean, not that it was going to win the fight over here, that was pretty clear, but it probably could have contained a little bit more. It could have threatened Zealot run-bys a little bit more. Just getting the army off of your back is a pretty good feeling for any race, for any StarCraft race. Now, herO did get away with his 4th base. Oliveira was looking to move out, decided on second thought, maybe I'll have to take this a little bit more carefully. And so herO will get up to 4 bases. He did get up to 6 gases, and now he is moving on into a robotics bay. He might just go right into disruptors again. That's what he did last time. Colossus are dependable. Colossus have that range they can work with, which is actually quite useful. I think they're still an important part to a lot of early and mid-game PvTs, but it's really not bad that you go right into disruptors. So, and herO does what he wants as well, so I can't tell him what to do. You can use it very, very effectively, which is kind of the difference between, you know, you and herO, me and herO. Blink Stalker Disruptor is excellent in the right hands. A little bit of a base trade perhaps coming in as Oliveira does gun for the 4th base of herO. All those probes dead as well. That 3rd base not looking so hot either. And once again, Disruptor on the 3rd base with the Disruptor technology just to get it as fast as possible. I don't mind the Robo being here, but the robotics base seems unnecessary. But that's an aside. We got ourselves a base trade. We got to pay attention to who's taking the most damage. And it looks like right now, herO is taking a lot of damage, sure. But Oliveira is getting his production camped, which makes me a little bit more worried for the Terran. Disruptors have been found out. No sneaky disruptor shot coming in right now. Oliveira with 90 army supply to herO's 74, as he does produce a little bit more. But the production has to be lifted, and that is one of the key problems. herO has been able to build up a little bit more before everything is said and done. He's got a couple more units warped in. He's finished up his +1. Which is better than nothing, but unfortunately, herO was not mindful of killing these engineering bays, so Oliveira is also going to have good upgrades. In fact, much better upgrades. 2-1, possibly even 2-2, versus just 1. Army supplies have evened up. What does herO have as far as splash? Nothing. He's got 4 observers, though, so that's going to be detecting the hell out of this army. Tell you what. What have I? Oh my god! Oh, you should have just let those die. You should have just given us the biggest Wood of Mine hit ever, herO. Honestly, like, those probes are going to survive anyways. This could have been easily 50 probe kills. I swear. He gets 14 instead. Anyways, herO is running out of buildings, guys. He is literally running out of buildings. He did not save a single probe from any of these bases, even though he has 800 minerals in the bank to rebuild 2 Nexus somewhere, anywhere. He can't. He has no workers. And the Terran's ultimate ability to float indefinitely, no gasoline burned in the making of this film, means that Oliveira can at least force a draw. Unless he severely misreads the situation and loses this engagement somehow. But it's 2-1 versus 1. It's no splash gateway army for the Protoss. We got Widow Mines aplenty. I mean, there's no way that herO wins this fight, right? His one disruptor is stuck in limbo. I don't know how that survived, but it's apparently survived. Here comes the attempted surround. If the Widow Mines splash in the Bio Army, that could also be a possibility, but they do not. Oliveira, mindful of that, just pulls his army back, and now Bio versus Stalkers. I mean, who's gonna win this one? Especially when the Stalkers are severely outgunned. That is it. Oliveira takes the 2-1 and moves on to the finals. GG's. GG's. That was a fun game. I'm not gonna say herO died because his disruptors were on the front line, but what if this Robo was up in the main base? I think that could have been something. Could have been a contender. Nah, GG's. All right, let's go into the other semifinal. Let's see what's happening over there. herO's so freaking good with observers, man. He's got like so many observers and he's just like detecting all the shit.